Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be making dressing, not stuffing, dressing. You will need turkey necks. You can also use the giblets from a turkey if you get a whole turkey. You're going to need a bell pepper. You're going to need some celery. You're going to need some butter and a yellow onion. And you're going to need self-rising cornmeal, not Jiffy Mix, not any other kind of cornmeal. So first we're going to take the pot and we are going to rinse the turkey necks off. And then once we rinse them off, we're going to put them in a pot. Now we are doing this so that we can boil these for a minimum, I say, of about 2 hours. Reason why you want to boil these is because you are going to need to use the juice from them boiling. You're going to need that to make the dressing, and you're also going to need the meat from the turkey necks to put in the dressing. So we're going to fill this pot up about halfway. Once it comes to a boil, you can kind of turn it down, and it still should be boiling, and you do that for about 2 hours. Now here I am just washing my hands because I was just touching raw meat. So I'm putting it on the stove basically. Now I'm just grabbing the cornmeal. Now when it comes to this part, you just follow the instructions that are on the bag. I am going to double up on all the ingredients on the bag because I want to make enough cornbread to fill the pan that I'm going to be putting it in. So one serving is not going to work. I did do the one serving first, and then I went back and I doubled it up so that I can make enough batter. So that's all I'm doing here. On the bag, it basically say to use 2 cups of the cornmeal, and then you're supposed to use a half a cup of the vegetable oil, and then you're going to go in with some milk, and you're going to use, I believe it said a half of a cup of milk. Nope, it was a cup and a half. Okay, so a cup and a half of milk. Now you could substitute that. That's for my friend out there. You can't use almond milk because I know not everybody drink milk. Then you're going to use 1 egg. So basically after I did that, I just went back in and did the exact same thing with all the ingredients, so that I can have double this amount of batter. So now I'm just stirring it up. And again, this is the same thing of me basically adding more cornmeal and stuff. So self-explanatory right here. Okay, so basically this is how it should look when you are ready to get your pan that you're going. Now I got an iron skillet, so I'm just wiping it out to make sure it's dry. I'm going to take a can of Pam, and I'm just going to spray the entire skillet with that so that the cornbread don't really stick to the skillet. I'm going to put the batter into the skillet, and then I'm going to throw this in the oven. Again, I'm just going by the same directions on the bag of the cornmeal. So it says to bake it at 400 degrees for about 20-25 minutes. While that's in the oven, I'm going to take my celery and I'm going to cut the celery into small pieces. It don't really matter, like, if you know, they don't have to be perfect or nothing, because we're going to go right back through these with a bigger knife, and we are going to like try to dice them and make them as small as possible. So yeah, I'm cutting up this one, and then I'm gonna cut up a second one, and that's all I use is two. um I don't even know what to call it. Is cloves? I don't know. Two things of broccoli. Two sticks. Two sticks of broccoli. So I'm cutting these up. Like I said, self-explanatory. And then I'm going to go in with a bigger knife and try to dice them a little bit. Just to make them smaller because, you know, who want to eat chunks of celery in their dressing? Not I. That's just me. So I guess this part is optional, but I recommend it. So now I'm just going to take these and I'm just going to, girl, I use paper plates for everything. I hate washing dishes. So I'm just setting them aside on the paper plate because I just need them out my way. I'm taking a bell pepper. I'm only going to use half of it. So I'm taking a bell pepper and then you just going to carve out, you know, the inside, take the seeds out. Once I take the seeds out, I kind of, you know, get that little white part out of it too. And then I just rinse it off to try to get the seeds off of it. Then I'm just going to cut the bell pepper into strips like this. I don't be trying to be perfect when I cut up bell peppers and onions. I just be trying to get it done. Like, it's tedious and it's annoying, so I just be trying to get it done. So then I just take them, I just lay them on the side and basically cut them into smaller pieces. So that's what you see me doing here. And I'm going to do basically the exact same thing that I did with the celery, where I'm going to just take the bigger knife and I'm going to go through the bell peppers to try to make them smaller, more like diced than like chunks. All right, that's good enough for me. I'm basically just, like I said, dicing them up to try to make it as small as I can. But we are going to saute these, so it's not the biggest of deals, but you want to try to make them as small as you can. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put them on a paper plate, set them to the side with the celery. Then I'm going to take my onion. Of course, you cut off both ends. Then you just peel off the skin. Now, I want to give y'all a tip when it comes to cutting onions. If you run it under cold water and you don't look directly at the onion, your eyes will not water. And by chance, let's say you don't do that and your eyes do start watering, immediately wash your hands and you're fine. So I learned that little like trick too when it comes to cutting up onions. I always either don't look at them or I rinse them off in cold water. So now I'm just doing the same thing where I'm dicing. Well, not really dicing. I'm just trying to make them smaller. Make the onions as small as possible, but it's not, you know, it don't have to be perfect. So now I'm just going to add those to the bell pepper and the celery. Then I'm going to take the turkey necks. Now these been boiling for, like I said, 2 hours already. Yeah. So we're just going to take these, and they are hot, but I can work with it. So I'm going to take these, and all I'm going to do is start tearing the meat off of them. You basically want to get as much of the meat off of them as you can. This would be the same thing if you were to have used the turkey giblets, you know, like with that comes with the turkey. It comes with the neck and the giblets, but when you don't make a turkey, you can always just buy turkey necks. It's the same thing. So I'm taking basically as much meat as I can off of them. Then I'm going to cut the meat up, and then I'm going to set that to the side. So that's just what I'm doing here. Okay, so now the cornbread is done. Taking the cornbread out, putting that on the oven. I'm only going to let this cool for about 10 minutes before I take it out of the pan. I'm just showing y'all that it's done. So now I'm dumping it out of the pan. Obviously, you can still see the steam coming from it, so it is hot. But I'm so used to working with, like, you know, the cornbread still being hot, because to make it, like, to crumble it up while it's hot is the best way to do it. And basically all you seeing me do here is to trying to crumble it up into small. You don't want any chunks of cornbread, whether it's the skin, whether it's the bottom. The middle and the top is kind of going to crumble apart as soon as you grab it, but you really need to separate the bottom and the edges of the cornbread. And like I said, you just want to make sure that it's all, like, basically, I don't even know how to describe it, but you basically want to tear it completely apart and get it in tiny pieces throughout the entire bowl of cornbread. So that's all I'm doing here. So this is a tedious step, but trust me, you do not want chunks of cornbread in your dressing. Um, it just it'll throw everything off. You bite into a chunk of, yeah, it won't season right or nothing. So this part is mandatory. Trust me. So I'm just making sure that I'm, like, being thorough with doing this, and basically just trying to make sure that I have all crumbs of cornbread throughout the whole bowl. Okay, so now you're going to take a skillet. You're going to throw some butter in there. I say that's about 2 tablespoons of butter. You're going to go ahead and let the butter melt. Now, we are doing this so that we can start to saute the celery, onions, and bell pepper. One thing you don't want to do is skip this part, because if you put the raw onions and the raw celery and bell peppers in the dressing, it is gonna be crunchy as hell. Basically, I don't even know how else to describe it. You're gonna literally bite into the celery and the onions, and it's just gonna taste raw. And Yeah, that's what we don't want. And then on top of that, to do this part actually adds flavor to them as well. So it adds flavor to the dressing too. So this part is important. So now I'm just letting the butter get hot enough to, start adding the bell pepper, the celery, and the onions. Okay, so now we add them in. Basically, we are going to cook these until they get like soft and mushy, sauteed, basically. Yeah, so that's basically what we're doing. Okay, so this is what you want them to look like. Now we're going to take these and we're going to add them to the cornbread. Just like this. Child, why do I have to get every single drop, every crumb? Okay, so then once we add those, we are going to then mix this up. Okay, so we're stirring this all together. Then we're going to take the meat from the turkey neck and we're going to dump that in there too. Then we're going to stir this all together. Okay, so after the meat, we then need to pour the juice from the turkey necks into the dressing. This is what is going to give it the flavor. I've heard of some people using chicken stock or chicken broth. I don't know, but my grandma would slap me upside the back of my head. So that's not what I use. I use the juice from the turkey necks. So you stir that all together. Then you're going to take your poultry seasoning, and that's what you're going to season this with. Now, the seasoning is based on, like I said, taste. So once you put some seasoning in it, you need to taste it. And then if it tastes good, then, you're good. But me, I always go back in with some more seasoning because that's just, that's how we get down. I can't tell you how much that is. Sprinkle. I don't know. So then you are going to add 3 eggs. So I am just putting the eggs in there. Now, mind you, you need to do all your tasting before you add the eggs. Once you add the eggs, it's a wrap. There is no tasting it. I mean, you can if you want to, but that's disgusting. So you need to make sure that it tastes how you want it to taste before adding the eggs. Once you add the eggs, you stir it up, and then it is going to go in the pan. The pan that I'm using is I believe this is a 9x13 that I'm using to bake it in. I already have the oven preheated to 400 degrees. Once I put this into the pan, it is going to go in the oven for about, I say 45 minutes to an hour. It doesn't really take the dressing that long once you put it in the oven. Okay, so now we're gonna throw it in there. This is what it should look like when you take it out. It's done. All right, please subscribe, like this video, and until next time, guys. Bye.